You sabotaged my society and the cops and the system. A raped woman got executed.
She was called a monster, a symbol of evil, America's first female serial killer. Netflix gave us a version of Aileen Wuornos, but they didn't show us everything. The new documentary painted a quieter portrait of Aileen. In their version, she wasn't volatile and unhinged. Rather, she was calm, reflective, and almost heartbreakingly human.
Sad society didn't care, did they? They framed me for a movie.
They focused on the woman behind the crimes, the pain in her eyes, the exhaustion in her voice, the years of regret etched across her face. It was a story of emotion and humanity, told through a lens of empathy. But there was a much darker side to Aileen that you didn't see.
Nonetheless,
Yeah.
you killed 7 men.
Yes,
And
you
I'm
did.
asking you, what got you to kill the 7 men?
And I'm telling you because the cops let me keep killing them, Nick. Don't you get it?
She could appear calm, even kind. For a moment, you might almost forget who she was, the woman the world came to know as a monster. But just seconds later, the calm would vanish. Her smile would twist into fury. The quiet tone became shouting, accusations, chaos.
It got me pissed. Hey, United States Supreme Court, I'm telling you, man, you keep fucking with my execution, there's gonna be bloodshed. I'm sick of this. Get that fucking warrant signed.
This was the real Aileen Wuornos, a woman constantly shifting between calm and rage. Unpredictable, unstable. She could speak about love and God one moment and scream about betrayal and conspiracy the next. To understand where that rage came from, you have to go back. Back to the childhood Netflix didn't show you.
Not any impurities or perversion or battery or any of that jazz.
Long before the world knew her name, before the crimes, before the cameras, there was a girl growing up in complete chaos. Aileen was born into a family already marked by pain and instability. Her parents were teenagers, and they separated soon after her birth, leaving her and her brother to be raised by her grandparents who struggled with their own demons.
My mother, Diane, let me tell you something. She plopped me out of her belly, left me with my grandparents, and we never knew her.
Aileen never even knew her father. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, later convicted of crimes against children, and eventually committed suicide in prison. In the new documentary, she paints her childhood as being ideal, but according to her autobiography, she was abused by her grandfather. She later became pregnant by one of his friends at the age of 14. The baby was given up for adoption. Aileen also admitted to having a brief sexual relationship with her brother Keith, who was 3 years older than her.
Do you know whether she was having sexual relations with anyone else at this time?
Yes, I did.
And who was that?
Her brother, Keith.
Florida court records state that a woman who lived in the same neighborhood as Aileen claimed to hear her and Keith being intimate with each other often. According to the same documents, another neighbor stated that Keith was a sweet person whom Aileen loved very, very much. When Keith passed away in 1976 from cancer, Aileen received $10,000 from his life insurance policy, but the money quickly ran out after a few weeks when she reportedly bought a luxury car and totaled it in a crash. There was no doubt the home she grew up in was harsh. There was anger, neglect, and a constant sense of fear. Instead of safety, Aileen learned survival. And it changed the way she saw the world. After her grandmother passed away, her and her brother were kicked out of the house. She spent nights sleeping outside, drifting between small towns, doing whatever she could to stay alive. Those years hardened her. They taught her to rely on no one and to expect pain before kindness.
I was on the road from 16 to 20. I'm hitchhiking and I'm hooking. Running into a lot of situations because I never had a place to live. I slept under viaducts, abandoned homes, cow pastures.
Most people remember Aileen as a drifter, a loner, and later as a woman in love with her girlfriend, Tyra Moore, who would ultimately help lead police to her arrest.
And this is my first encounter with lesbianism, and she turns me onto it.
But few know that years before any of that, Aileen was briefly married. In 1976, at just 20 years old, she met a 69-year-old yacht club president named Louis Gratz-Fell. He was wealthy, respected, and drawn to Aileen's unpredictable charm. Within weeks, they were married. But like everything in Aileen's life, the calm didn't last. Their relationship quickly turned volatile. Court records show that Fell filed for a restraining order, claiming she had attacked him during an argument. Aileen, in turn, accused him of mistreatment. The marriage ended almost as quickly as it began, just another brief chapter in a life defined by chaos. A glimpse of what could have been stability, swallowed again by the storm that always followed her. For Aileen, her foundation was completely broken, and in the years that followed, that damage would grow into something far more dangerous. She drifted from town to town, living on the edges of society, a wanderer chasing small comforts and trying to forget a life that never gave her peace. She spent years hitchhiking along Florida highways, surviving however she could. It was a life built on constant movement, always one step ahead of hunger and danger. But the same isolation that kept her alive also deepened her anger. Every betrayal, every slight, every rejection added fuel to something already burning inside her. Between 1989 and 1990, that anger finally erupted. One by one, a series of men were found dead across Central Florida. The crimes were brutal and left investigators baffled. For months, no one suspected that the person responsible might be a woman. When Aileen was finally arrested, she told police she had acted in self-defense, that she feared for her life. But prosecutors painted a different picture, of greed, of vengeance, of someone who had crossed a line she could never return from. Before her execution, she finally admitted that she had killed all of her victims in cold blood, that she was never attacked.
Okay, I cannot go in the execution chamber and die in the execution chamber as a liar. And I cannot go in the execution chamber and be executed under the devil. I have to come clean and cleanse my spirit in the name of Jesus Christ.
That you killed those men in cold blood.
Yeah, and I got to come clean that I killed those 7 men in first-degree murder and robbery. But I'm coming clean before I go in that execution chamber and be executed, that I killed them.
And so
like
when
this.
you met them, from the beginning, did you know that you were going to kill them? When they picked you up in their cars?
I pretty much had them selected that they were going to die. But I'm really sorry about everything I've done. I missed Ty. I lost Tyra over this. And then the people that lost their loved ones and everything. I really think first about the people that lost their loved ones, and then Ty second. And this is the last time I'm going to say it. You have to kill Aileen Wuornos because she'll kill again.
The media called her America's first female serial killer. She became the subject of films and documentaries, which she seemed to enjoy. But as time grew nearer to her execution, she wasn't as open to being interviewed. After her conviction, Aileen was transferred to Florida's death row. Behind the prison walls, the silence and the enduring time, her mind began to unravel. Those who met her described her as unpredictable, intense, and impossible to forget.
7 people in 1 year.
Oh, well. Oh, well.
But why not say now?
Because I'm out of retaliation for taking my life like this and getting rich off it all these years. in total pathological lying. Yeah, thanks a lot. I lost my life because of it. Couldn't even get a fair trial. Couldn't even get a fair investigation or nothing. Couldn't even have my appeals right. You sabotaged my ass, society, and the cops, and the system. A raped woman got executed. It was used for books and movies and shit. Ladder climbs, the election, everything else. I got a big finger in all your faces. Thanks a lot. You're an inhumane bunch of living bastards.
Over the years, Aileen's worldview grew even more chaotic. She spoke often about betrayal, about being watched, about forces she believed were working against her. The isolation only deepened her paranoia.
Let them know that I know that the cops knew who I was. After Richard Mallory died, I left prints everywhere, and they covered it up. And let me kill the rest of those guys to turn me into a serial killer. I know they did, because I was no professional serial killer or anything, or murderer, or whatever you want to call it, you know. I wasn't professional at what I was doing.
Eileen,
I did some sloppy work, you know.
She claimed that she was being tortured by police while on death row.
prepared yourself for tomorrow morning?
I'm all right with it. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Hey, I was tortured at BCI. They had the intercom on in the room, and they kept lying that it wasn't on, and they were using sonic pressure on my head since 1997.
What? Did that affect your mind, do you think?
Huh?
Did that affect your mind in some way, the sonic?
It was crushing my head, and they were using sonic pressure. They were trying to make it look like I was crazy at all times, rig up the room with torture. If I said anything about I think their whole plan was to try to make it look like I was totally crazy, and so nobody would believe anything I had to say about anything, and then drive me there if they could.
She also made complaints that her food was being poisoned.
I suffered so bad. I was really struggling to survive. Had a lot of trays that were attempted murder and everything. I had to wash all my food off. And then one day I didn't wash my food off, and I was sick for 3 weeks, almost died.
Her mental health decline became the controversial subject of debate when it came to her execution. The paranoia and extreme mood swings she experienced could have been attributed to schizophrenia, the same diagnosis her father had received years earlier.
Whatever's on the beyond, I think it's going to be more like Star Trek, beaming me up into a space vehicle, man. Then I move on, recolonize to another planet or whatever.
Still, in the middle of all the turmoil, there were moments of strange calm. She spent hours listening to Natalie Merchant's album Tiger Lily, calling it a kind of comfort, a reminder of a gentler world she could never reach. It became part of her daily ritual, the one place she could find a small measure of peace. After more than a decade behind bars, Aileen Wuornos was executed by lethal injection at Florida State Prison. She was 46 years old. Aileen was the 10th woman in the U.S. to be executed since the reintroduction of the death penalty in 1976, and she was also the second woman to be executed in Florida.
You know, I was just wondering how you're going to be, at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Are you prepared?
I'm prepared. I'm all right with it.
More than 2 decades after her death, Aileen Wuornos remains one of the most talked about figures in true crime history. Her story has been retold, reinterpreted, and reimagined by journalists, filmmakers, and streaming giants. Each version claims to show the truth. But truth in Aileen's case is complicated. Some portray her as a victim of circumstance shaped by a lifetime of trauma and neglect. Others focus on her crimes, on the rage, the contradictions, and the terror she left behind. But between those two extremes lies a version of Aileen that's harder to define: the human one. The recent Netflix documentary softened her image, focusing on her calmness, her composure, her moments of reflection. But what it left out was just as telling: the volatility, the rage, the unpredictable storm that made her who she was. It showed the silence, but not the sound. Aileen Wuornos became a symbol for the broken system, for violence, for vengeance. But symbols are easier to understand than people. And Aileen was never simple. She was a woman who wanted love and found only survival. A life spent fighting, running, and breaking before the world ever gave her a chance to heal. And in the end, maybe that's why her story still haunts us. Because it asks the question no documentary can fully answer. Was Aileen Wuornos born a monster? Or did the world make her one?